To get back into that rhythm. But that laugh you heard there was the Golden Pipes of Mr. Southern Indiana, Caleb Farkas.
That's the first time I've had Golden Pipes added to the name. Keeps getting better. I have a hot take on Cousins that I was going to unleash during this show, but maybe I'll hold off after the compliment.
Well, man, you have more nicknames than Apollo Creed here on Live at 5, man. Nobody has better nicknames than Caleb Farkas, Mr. Southern Indiana, Mr. Alaska, you name it, the Golden Pipes there, Caleb Farkas. And here comes Vic Evans now. Vic, I was telling the listeners that you get into a different rhythm. You start recording the show. You don't, you do. But we got it going now, right?
It's up and running.
Good deal. All right. Always professional here.
Yeah,
on
that's why you can,
top of our game.
On that new YouTube page there, they'll all be right there. If you had to miss the show, and it's
check it out.
You can
download the Owensboro Radio app. There's a podcast tab that's still there. We're just trying to make it easier, right, for you to listen. It's on YouTube now. The @ symbol, Live at 5 on YouTube. Subscribe.
It's at Live at 5 1027.
1027. I apologize.
Yes.
I'm just shooting that on the fly. I didn't prepare. Leave it to me to be unprepared, right?
That's normal.
But you can download the Owensboro Radio app. Follow along 1027 The Game, Facebook, Twitter. Kicking It text line is wide open, 270-903-0389. And we're kicking the show off. Little Perry Central flavor. We are going to talk quarterbacks later, Caleb. I don't know if you plan to stay the whole show, but you're going to
enticing me now.
I can't wait.
I have a hot take.
I was like, I'm going to save that for Friday.
I binge watched the quarterback show, and I have a hot take from it.
Good. I can't wait. I'm very interested to see if I agree or disagree.
You're going to disagree entirely.
You think so? I don't know. I don't know if I will or not. I call things right down the middle. We'll see. But let's get this Green River Area Federal Credit Union hotline and get Coach Greg Gibson from the Perry Central Commodores. Welcome to Live at 5, Coach.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it. About ready to get this thing started.
Absolutely, man. We need you to bring some discipline to this program. We're off to a rough start here today. But coming off an 8-2 year, you guys had the discipline last year, man. Talk about, before we get into this season and previewing this year's team, you guys were up high in our top 10 all year long, had a great year. Talk about that run last year.
Yeah, it was just a group of kids that had, they had paid their dues and they had played sparingly at different times, and all of a sudden it was their turn to saddle up, and they did exactly what they needed to do. They were, it was a great team. When you look at the team, there wasn't a lot of just kids that you would say, okay, this is Perry Central. It was just our team, and I thought that was one of the things that made it great. There was, games where one kid would step up and make a play to kind of seal the deal, and the next week it'd be somebody else. So it was a fun group. They practiced really well. I think that was their legacy, if you will, for this year's team. That group at 3:30 every day was on the practice field, and it was a practice. And there wasn't any downtime, and they loved what they did, and it was just like one of those years where it was a pleasure every day to go to practice. That being said, they did model. I think they set a really good model for how things should be, and I think we'll see how that plays out for this year.
Yeah, and Coach, 12 seasons, is that right?
Yes, it's my 12.
12 seasons. I mean, does it get any? Is every year a little different? Are you getting to that routine now? I mean, talk about that run you've had. 12 years is a great run there, and 76 wins as a coach over there. So a lot of success. Yeah, I mean, it's a great place to be. Football at Perry Central is kind of a community deal. Everybody, and it's hard to explain because it's a community deal, but everybody's so positive about it. They're always backing the kids. It's different. High school football, I think, is a little bit different animal than other levels, and the fact that it's something different every year. Like this year. Obviously we got a whole new cast of characters out there, and you got kids that you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes I had a coaching friend one time and said, you're basing your career on whether an 18-year-old had a fight with his girlfriend at lunchtime or not. And
exactly.
And it's always something different, and I've enjoyed it. I loved it, and every day going down over that. Our practice field at the bottom of this big old hill, and I always tell the kids, that's part of my day is walking over that hill and seeing those guys down there ready to get going. So it's been a great time.
Right before we get to some players to look for this year, I've got to ask you. You talk about the great year it was last year, but Coach, when are you going to get the Indiana high school playoffs fixed, where you don't have a great year and you draw modern day in round one? I mean, there's got to be a better way than a blind draw to do this.
Oh, and I've been, I've been a kind of a seeded guy for a long time. I've always thought there's got to be a way we can seed these things, because it's not only at Perry Central, but you see it almost every other sectional and all levels, where you got 1 and 2 playing each other on the first night, and then I'm like you. I think there's got to be a better way, but no one ever calls me and asks me these questions. So I don't know. I'm not sure what that means for me as far as how I rate, but that's I've been a seated guy for a long, long time. But Mater Dei was a tremendous team, and it was a good ball. We had a bad quarter in the second quarter, and after that we played pretty well. But it was definitely a challenge, and we would like to have gone on a little further, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
And looking at this year's team, and kind of led, with the big star running back coming back, and Sawyer Gillum, and tell the people, especially on this side of the river, maybe hadn't seen him play or doesn't get to see him play, what kind of special back he is.
Sawyer is just a fun kid to watch. Sawyer had over 1,800 yards. He was a 2A junior All-State player last year. I don't know how many kids ran for over 100 yards against Mater Dei last year, but he was one of them. He had 127 yards against them in that playoff game. Just an explosive kid. He's not afraid to go stick his nose up in there. He'll get you 2-3 tough yards to beat him. But if you miss a tackle on him, and that's what we always talk about. We tell our linemen, you guys just get him to the second level and he'll do the rest. And he gets out there, you're not going to catch him. He averaged over 12 yards a carry last year, and then, he was one of our main dogs. But just on the other side, he's such a humble kid. I mean, he just does his job. If he walked into the room tomorrow and was talking to you, you would never know he was an all-state running back. He's not super imposing, but he's really strong from the waist down, but just soft-spoken and just does it on the field, and the kids really rally around him.
Well, one thing Caleb's happy with is you've agreed to send us the stats on Sundays, and so your guys at Perry Central will be part of our fantasy football. And Caleb's been that was his sleeper first pick of the whole draft all the time. I was like, well, Caleb, we got to make sure he's even in the draft and eligible before that happens.
Yeah, so I got to get Gilliam number 1. He might rush for. He was close to 2,000 last year. I think he was at 1,800. Right. I think it could be 2,000 could be within reach. One thing I was going to ask you, Coach, I apologize if you've already answered this. We're short on a little headsets here in the studio, so I haven't been able to catch everything you've said. But I know you've lost the Huberts, who both played quarterback and receiver. They were 2 big kids, right. And I know often you're a little more one-dimensional. You run the ball there. But with those kids, they could throw the ball around a little bit. They like to connect with each other. Obviously, they had a rapport together. Do you see, going to the ground game even more than usual? How do you see replacing those kids? I know, I think it was, I get confused as to who played quarterback and receiver, but the quarterback got hurt in that Mater Dei game. I know Yeager had to come in and play quarterback. Is he going to take over at QB, and how are things looking there?
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, I would say right now, if we started tomorrow, Cole would be our quarterback, and he's taken the reins this summer, and he's worked on his game. I think, I don't see us being way, overly running. I think we'll still do the same thing we've been doing for years here, and that we are going to be a running ball team. That's not going to change. But Cole does he can throw the medium game real well. I think you'll see more rollout type stuff, more run pass options with him. He's an athletic kid. He's picking up on the pass game. Again, it's his first year. We just got done with our camp, or tomorrow's our last night of camp. But it's just 7 of these kids that take snaps in a couple weeks against Southridge in our scrimmage have never taken a varsity snap. And Cole got a little taste of it there in the Mater Dei game. And I don't know if it was the first or second time he rolled out and went 20-some yards against Mater Dei, but he got called back for holding. But I think that's what he brings to the team. He brings that athleticism to him. We're going to try to get him on that edge and make those corners make a decision. If they come up, we're going to throw it. If not, he's going to take off. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be an interesting year.
As we're talking to Coach Gibson on the Green River Area Federal Credit Union Hotline, head football coach, Perry Central. And Coach, as a baseball coach, I know that as the season gets closer, you have those nights that's tough to sleep, and you're always worried about this or you're worried about that. Is there a position group that keeps you more worried than others that you think needs to take the biggest jump for you guys to be as successful as you want to be?
Well, Perry, I just got to say we're kind of a run-oriented team. We're not going to come out and throw the ball 40 times. So our offensive line, and we're replacing 3 of the 5 kids, and 3 of it's not only just replacing them, but replacing with kids that really didn't take very many snaps last year. So we've got 2 guys coming back, Caleb Caleb Howe and Bodie Cronin. Both those guys took, major snaps last year on the left side, so they're going to have to kind of carry the boat. But those, if you talk, there's been nights I've come home with my wife and I just kind of just threw the folder on the counter and said, and we got some work to do. But they're working hard.
Student body left.
Yeah. But I've been pleased with the effort. They're working hard, and they're high school kids, and they're going to make some mistakes early on. But I think, I've been really impressed with Bodie and Caleb and how they've taken the rest of those guys under their wings. And, you're hitting the right way when you run a play and you're coming back, and I'm getting ready to say something. Coach Cronin's getting ready to say something, and Bodie and Caleb already have them, and they're talking to them on the way back to the huddle, or they're doing things. So I think we'll be okay. But if I had to say that if there's one group that we've got our eye on, it's obviously the offensive line. Because I don't care what level you're at, they make you go.
Well, Coach, for the Commodore fans that are out there listening, any under-the-radar guys that have kind of stuck out to you, maybe some names that Commodore fans are going to get to know a little bit better this fall?
Well, I think Cohen Edwards has been he was a sophomore last year, as a junior. I don't know if he's under the radar on the defensive side, but I think he's going to play some offense this year as well. He'll be in the backfield with Sawyer. I think they'll get a taste of him. Cole Yeager, like I said, no one's really kind of seen him except they've been to the JV games, but these other fans are going to get to see a pretty athletic kid. On the defensive line side, Seven Whistle is a strong, probably the strongest kid on the team. He's kind of, I thought toward the end of the season last year, he kind of turned the switch on. He kind of figured out what everything's about. So I really look forward to seeing him on the defensive side against Southridge in a couple weeks. Ethan Ball, I think you'll see him quite a few places. He's again another one of those kids that doesn't really. He walks in the room, don't know what he's all about, but man, put him on the football field and he'll stick you. And he's a fun kid to be around. And then we have a couple of new kids that have never played before. We got Aiden Labhart and Corbin Hahe, they're both in the basketball team. They came to me right around Christmas time and said, "Hey, what do we got to do to play football?" And I said, "Show up, show up in June. Show up in June, and we'll find you a spot." They're super athletic kids, and I think they're going to make a name for themselves too. So I think, like I said, I was really proud of the team last year. But this is going to be a fun group to watch. It's going to be fun to watch them progress week by week. And I'm not saying it's always going to be the prettiest, but I think they'll see a team that just plays hard, every snap and makes things happen. So we'll see what that brings us.
I saw Corbin play basketball, and he's got a good frame to him. And I always wondered, why isn't this kid out there playing football? So it's good to hear that he'll be on the football field this year. Go ahead, Vic.
And Coach, one thing is you're getting ready for the season. You're getting into practice. One thing that has to help kind of focus in and get ready, not just the start of the season, but having that Tell City game sitting there right there at the first game of the year. I know for a lot of people over here, Steve and I got to go over during the COVID year and call Tell City and Perry, and it's one of the best rivalries in the entire area, be it over the river or on this side of the river. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, and it used to be kind of middle of the season game, and it was it was still a lot of fanfare for it and a lot of hype. But then moving it to game one, I think has just kind of put it on steroids or something. It's just like you said, it's that week. Everything's a little bit more under the microscope, and the kids start feeling it. The coaches are feeling it. The student body, we have Spirit Week that week, and we'll have different things going on. It's a fun thing for the student body and everybody to get kind of kick off the season, but it also kind of helps us. And I think me and CLP coaches have also said the same thing. It kind of keeps everybody's focus in the summer. When they start straying away, all you got to say is, "You think Tell City's taking a day off?" or blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden, boom, they're back at it. So it's a fun rivalry. In the long run, I'm not sure what it matters other than that, because neither one of us are in the same conference. Although now we are in the same sectional, but it's like the Alabama-Auburn game on week one of the college football season. It's a different animal. That's all I can tell you.
That game will be right there on 105.7 CJ in the opening on August 18th. On opening, Caleb will be there. That's always a fun game to keep your eye on.
I bet. Maybe last year was a 1-point ball game right down the wire. In fact, I think we intercepted a pass right at the goal line there at the end, and I don't think anything's going to change this year. So.
Yeah, you carry that momentum, and you get a big win in that matchup, and you can carry that momentum for a couple weeks. You guys carried it for the entire season. Coach, thanks for giving us some time. I know you guys got practice coming up. Good luck this season, and we look forward to following Commodore football all season long.
Well, we appreciate all the coverage. I know the fans do. I hear all the time, and you guys do a great job, so thanks a lot for having us on.
Appreciate it there.
Thanks, Coach.
Good luck. Thanks, Coach. That's Coach Greg Gibson from the Perry Central Commodores, the head football coach there. And Caleb, they put a good product on the field. You know, this is a team that was entrenched inside the top, six, seven all year long last year. And it's a small school. They like to run the football, but they did what they did well last year.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of dominate the small schools in that southwest kind of Indiana region. You know, I mentioned when we talked to Tell City, Perry Central's schedule is a little bit easier. I don't know if we're going to go ceiling and all of that today, but if we do,
yep, in segment 2.
This is a team that can win every game on their schedule, and they could have last year as well, and I think they have even a better shot of that this year. Coach Gibson's done a really good job down there, or up there, I should say. It's down there from me in Michigan originally, but up there now from where we are here. Yeah. So I think they have a chance to do a lot of damage. I think that Tell City game's going to be close no matter what the first week of the year. But I think after that, they're going to be probably favorites in the majority of the games they play. Unfortunately, like Vic said, you can't help how the playoff draw is going to shake out, and you're probably going to see Modern Day early.
But at some point, you got to see them in the sectional at some point.
Yeah. And I mean, I know we beat a dead horse with this, but it
can take 2 weeks away of football players.
Well, it's just as a team, as a coach, even you hear coaches in Kentucky. Well, we're preparing ourselves to position ourselves for a playoff run. Exactly. Well, there is no preparing for position in Indiana. It's literally up to a blind draw. I mean, like Perry had one of their best seasons, the best season that they had since we've been covering them last year. And their gift is a first-round matchup against a team that plays at Lucas Oil Stadium down the road.
Not just that, the eventual state champs.
I thought they won the state. Yeah,
the
so
eventual 2A state champs.
So, that's your reward. You lose one regular season game, and you get that for week 1 of the playoffs.
I've blasted it like 4 times on Twitter.
Crazy.
It just a lot of people agree with it that are there, though. A lot of the fans, a lot of the parents, a lot of even
Stockholm
coaches.
syndrome, man.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just what they're used to.
Well, their schedule's set up so different because your conference, the way Indiana's set up.
I kind of like the conference.
I do love the conference, and it's not. And the thing about it is, like, we're here in Kentucky where we have, Owensboro plays in their district. And those are teams that they play those district games, and then they play the sister district 1 to 4. You know how it works here. Over there, their conference is not all schools that are the same size.
Yeah, different classes.
Right. So, if you were going to do that here in Kentucky, your conference may be the 4 city schools in Owensboro, Hancock, and Henderson. That may be your conference, or maybe McLean in there also. And you'd have like a 7-team conference, and you would play the teams in your conference. So,
and you do have like a regular season conference change.
Yeah, and that's Perry Central won their first one last year. That was the first time they won since 13, the second under Gibson. Yeah, the Patoka Lake. Yeah.
I think it's a small
the Indiana people are listening to this like, oh, God, these Kentucky guys.
No, there's the Patoka Lake. Yeah, so, but I don't know what the goal even is. That's why I ask that a lot of times, because here in Kentucky, I think the goal is basically find a way to make the playoffs. If you're in Owensboro, it's probably obviously to win your district and those sorts of things. But if you're someone on the fringe, it's just to make the playoffs. Over there for Tell City, for example, what's the goal during the season? Not get stomped by Heritage Hills and North Posey and then beat the teams you should beat, I guess, is kind of the goal.
And then hope for a good draw, maybe win a couple playoff games.
For Perry this year, I think the goal is maybe try to run the table and then hope for the best in the playoffs. But it just makes it weird and awkward, and it makes the regular season much less relevant.
Well, I think a lot of people judge a season off playoff success, right? And so,
we do here, but I wonder over in Indiana, is it more about conference success?
But let me tell you though, if you're a Marksman fan, you went what? You won 2 games last year, but guess what? You won a playoff game.
You won a playoff game.
Perry Central rolls through their regular season,
and then lost their first
and they lose their very first round game. But it is against Modern Day. But at the end of the day, though, that playoff win is still important.
Yes, I agree.
So it's like, in a way, it's like almost like regular season basketball in Kentucky, where you can lose every game.
Yep.
As long as you win your district game, district tournament game, you're moving on. So it's like they can define an entire season, but nevertheless, Perry Central, I think they're gonna. When you got a star like Gilliam coming back, I think
he's going to be a star. He's going to have a huge year.
Over 10 yards a carry last year, 180 yards a game. Yeah,
that's something you can hang your
He's
hat
going to
on.
be better this year too.
Oh yeah.
And what's crazy is a lot of times, we talked about this. they only play 9 regular season games over there. They're only allowed to play 9, so there's one less game. And then Perry draws Mater Dei, and they get beat in the first round. So instead of a team that plays as their senior year play 12 to 13 games, now you're getting to play 10.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting, but nevertheless, Caleb will be at week 1, man.
Now the one they do different, everybody makes the playoffs over there.
That's right. Everybody makes
it. That's one of the parts that I can't stand of it.
Yeah.
And then it's all blind draw.
I can even live with that if we just get rid of the blind draw.
Me too.
At the end of the day, we beat a dead horse long enough. We'll take a break, come back, do ceiling and floor. We'll also talk quarterbacks. I think Caleb's going to drill me with the hot take on Kirk Cousins later, so that'll be fun. And then that's the show today.
There you go.
Hey, you're in for an entertaining treat here, live at 5, 102.7 The Game.
EI Sports and Apparel is focused on bringing you quality team uniforms and equipment. They are a full youth sports dealer with all the work done in-house, so all deadlines are met with top-notch quality. They have all the equipment you need for whatever sport you need it. They're an official Adidas dealer, so football, baseball, and soccer cleats, they have the pair that you're looking for. Find them just across the river on Plaza East Boulevard in Evansville or online at eisportsandapparel.com.
Keep cool all summer long with 11% off everything at Menards. Check out our great selection of fans and air conditioners. Pick up a Denali Air 8000 BTU window air conditioner. It features an easy-to-read LED display and 3 fan settings. It's perfect for keeping smaller spaces cool. Get one now for just $199.97 after 11% rebate at Menards. Good through July 23rd. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Well then, this place not only rocks, it rolls.
Don't forget to cool off with us at Diamond Lane South this summer. We truly have something for everyone with open lanes daily during summer break. Then make your weekend plans by reserving a spot for our Moonlight Bowling every Friday and Saturday night starting at 9. While you're here, grab some Lane 20 food and drink. There's always summer fun at Diamond Lane South. For daily specials, follow us on Facebook or check out diamondlanes.net. Let's head to the lanes. Diamond Lane South.
The Hancock County Public Library serves our patrons with more than just books. Library card holders can access 3 electronic lending libraries, Libby, Hoopla, and Canopy, with thousands of titles available in a variety of formats. Call 270-927-6760 or stop by any of our locations, Hallsville, Lewis Fort, or the Bookmobile to see how we can serve you today. The Hancock County Public Library, keeping our community connected.
Farming in Kentucky has seen dramatic changes over the past century. New technologies, new practices, new ways of bringing products to market. In the midst of these changes, the future of Kentucky agriculture demands that tomorrow's farmers be educated in the field and in the classroom. For over 100 years, Davis County Farm Bureau has served the Commonwealth and proudly supports giving farmers the tools, knowledge, and skills they need for success. I'm Brandon Gillis, and this message is brought to you by Davis County Farm Bureau.
When you need surgery, you don't want to wait, and you don't want to have to travel far to find a surgeon or facility. At Perry County Memorial Hospital, we have the expertise to offer you the best surgery services right here in Perry County. To schedule an appointment with Dr. Michael West, General Surgeon, call 13th Street General Surgery at 812-547-0333.
On the basketball court, you have to know where the lines are. It's just as important to know where the lines are in your own yard. Kentucky law generally requires you to have underground utility lines located before most excavation work, even if it's on your own property. If you don't call 811 and you damage a natural gas line, the Kentucky Public Service Commission will investigate you, and you may be fined up to $1,250. Much better to stay within the bounds of the law and call before you dig to start putting in that backboard or goalpost. For more information, visit psc.ky.gov. This message brought to you by the Kentucky Public Service Commission.
Cabinet Doors and More off Highway 54 in Fordsville is way more than cabinets. Don't believe us? Come see for yourself. We have a wide variety of items from custom-made wardrobes to corner cabinets, kitchen islands, hallway and couch tables to nightstands, and even mantles for your fireplace. All in stock and ready to go. Come on out to Fordsville and shop with us so you can see why we are well worth a drive. Follow Cabinet Doors and More on Facebook for new weekly items. Cabinet Doors and More off Highway 54 in Fordsville.
Local sports at its finest, live at 5 with Stephen A. Turner and Vic Evans on 102.7 The Game.
Live at 5, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. Stephen A. Turner, Vic Evans, Caleb Farkas here in the Floor Concept Studios, previewing Perry Central. This is our second football preview off the air. We were trying to hammer out a pseudo schedule coming up.
We'll get there.
I'm traveling. I'm a world traveler the next 3 weeks. You got Dallas, you got Alabama, you got where else am I going? Anaheim, California. Man,
the Angels just whipped the Yankees again.
Yeah, I saw that. My boy Mickey Moniak hit a home run last night.
Everybody hits home runs against us. I mean, it's, we're
Yankees got to fire everybody.
Yes.
I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
Cashman, Boone, everybody. It's
if I'm them, what I do is
last place.
What I would do here is I'd burn the whole thing down. Let's go get younger. Trade them all. I know you can't trade Stanton, but that's the biggest waste of money. Rizzo, Stanton.
If
the Giants want Judge, maybe you get something for him. No, you don't trade Judge. But everybody but Judge is available.
Just go back and play the rant that I had in the offseason about you're the Yankees.
Yes.
And Cashman and Boone should have been gone then.
Mm-hmm.
So, here we are.
If they're in the Central, though, they'd be in first place.
That's true.
Which is weird because you're in last place and you're
the East
kind of like
both
the NFC
was
tough. With, the NFC.
Don't tell me about a tough division because you're the freaking Yankees.
But yeah, you should.
Oh yeah, Yankees.
The Orioles shouldn't be.
You got a $280 million payroll that can't hit or pitch.
Yeah,
and you got a team like the Orioles 9 games ahead of you.
Commodores fans are thinking, man, what happened? We were talking Commodores and somehow we got on the Yankees. But welcome to Live at 5. That's what happens in these tangents sometimes. But man, 8-2 last year. We're the Commodores, and they kick things off. We'll be there, CJ 105, Week 1 kickoff at Tell City. And I'm telling you, it don't get any bigger than this on a kickoff night. Then at least that place is going to be rocking.
It is going to be rocking.
Sides. We were fortunate to be a part of this rivalry a little bit. Caleb will be there. And last year's game lived up to the hype. Caleb, you saw it, 21-20 instant classic last year.
Yeah, like Coach Gibson said, I think Tice DuPont, Tell City's quarterback, threw a late pick that one of the Hubert brothers was playing safety and kind of picked off a late pass near the end zone. And that's probably why Tell City didn't throw the ball for about 5 times total more the rest of the season after that.
That's it.
Malin was like, I've never thrown a pass again. But that game was really close. I think it's going to be really close again. I think these two teams, despite the records, we talked about it a couple times, Tell City's schedule is really tough. Perry Central's is fairly easy. So I think, you can't look at the 2-7 and 8-1. I think you do have to look at that 21-20 result. I would slightly favor whoever's home, that's Tell City this year. But I think both teams, have a goal of certainly winning that game. And I think when you're looking at ceiling, both teams are circling that game as one that they can and should want.
Right? Yeah, and I mean that's a game that literally each running back may have 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
It's going to be the Noah Terry versus Sawyer Gilliam show.
That'd be worth the price of admission.
Field. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you go to Week 2, and it's at Forest Park, and they won that game 42-21 last year at home. A little bit of a surprise on the final score. I remember during that week that was one that kind of stood out, and that really set their season, kind of set the tone for the rest of the way. But it is still a toss-up game. I mean, on the road at Forest Park, the Rangers always can be tough, but it's a game if you hit the ceiling, they should win, right?
Absolutely. It's corn country out there. It's definitely out there in the.
I've been there one time.
Yeah, it's out there in the boonies a little bit. They love their football out there at Forest Park and their high school sports. They have a coach that used to coach at Tell City out there, so he's familiar with Perry Central and what they try to do. I think they'll be improved, but like you said, I think it's a game that it's almost a must-win if they're going to do what they want to do this season.
Yeah, I agree. In Forest Park, great girls basketball program, 2-time state champs. You got two-time in a row, and then you got the baseball team. I believe just won a state title in the 2A ranks there too, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe the year before, but they've won one recently. Mm-hmm. So the football program it always is tough, hard-nosed, but it should be a game if you're hitting your ceiling that you would win. Then after that, I mean, Crawford County, 62-0 last year. I don't think there's any. That's going to be in Leopold there, as well as Paoli. Both, I think, are games that you would think that the Commodores would win, ceiling or floor.
Paoli's been up and down. They can have a decent team at times. Crawford County has basically no chance, and they should beat Paoli too, based on the way things are. And then Tecumseh's that was their only loss right last year, and that's who's.
And they graduated. They lost a big senior class. Tecumseh did.
Yeah.
So that's a game I would still think that maybe Perry's right there. I mean, realistically speaking, I think Caleb's right. The ceiling is very easy with this team. The ceiling may be 9.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the way, Clarksville at home, West Washington at home.
West Washington is giving them fits over the years.
And they weren't very good last year. They were down, but I think they returned most of their roster. They'll be a lot better. But you like that game at home. at Springs Valley. That's another
That's a tough
team
one,
that
yeah.
they've been better. They had a lot of injuries last year. They had a running back that got hurt, but I think he graduated. And he was a kid that I watched run for like 350 yards in a game before. So without him, again, I think Perry Central's probably favored if we were going to do we're already doing fantasy sports, so we can put spreads in high school games. I'm favoring them if I'm putting any sort of spread in every single game.
Except
for
Tell
Tell
City
might just be a straight even spread or a pick 'em, yeah. But you might favor Perry Central if you're just going hard on paper. Tell City only returns a handful of guys. Only have 6 seniors, I think, on the whole team. Perry Central's older. They I think are just more talented from top to bottom on the roster. So I think if you're being non-biased entirely, it's maybe a pick 'em or maybe like a -1 for Perry Central.
Caleb's already not welcome at the Schrader
House.
House.
City. Hey, I picked, and my pick is still waning because there's a lot of time. But I said I'm leaning Tell City, and that's probably
because
who
of the
I
home
picked.
team. Yeah.
And then
what
I
about
picked-
Tecumseh? You think they'd be favored on the road at Tecumseh?
Yes, because
lost
Tecumseh
so
wasn't
much.
that good outside of last year was the one kind of rare exception. I talked to a couple of fans that have been following teams. One of them, he had coached some of those kids in particular, and there was a big group of talented, super athletic seniors. I think that all are pretty much gone. So the cupboard,
there
I
you
think,
go.
is empty there. A bit at least.
9-0 is the ceiling.
8 wins, 9 wins is the ceiling.
And the floor is probably
6-3.
6-3. They could
6-3.
lose to Tell City. They could still lose at Tecumseh for sure. And you never know when they could drop a game like West Washington, Springs Valley, Forest Park. Things go wrong, and any of those are possible losses.
I think the floor is probably
6-3 to 9-0
is
what I would spread it out.
Yeah, I'd say if I had, and I'd probably pick the final record somewhere in the like 8-1.
And 8-1 is my
and I think
prediction,
that's where they were last year. And I think 8-1 is a good place to put them. Now 9-0 wouldn't shock me at all. After 9-0, I mean, they'll be up in the top 3 or 4 of the top 10.
Yes,
I mean, so it's going to be an interesting year. You hear a lot.
And I
about
hope you don't draw Mater Dei.
That's right. I mean, just hope you don't draw them. Anybody else, you have a shot. But Mater Dei is an absolute machine. We'll take a break. Come back in the NFL League Executive and Scouts. Jeremy, what's his name, from ESPN put together this list, 80 league execs and scouts polled, put together a top 10 NFL quarterbacks.
Gotcha.
And we'll talk about that top 10 list next. And Caleb's got a Kirk Cousins hot take. I don't think it'll be that hot. It's Caleb and his Kirk Cousins. We know it's going to be negative. Next, live at 5, 102.7 The Game.
Make your hard-earned money grow faster this spring when you open a Green River Area Federal Credit Union 1-month certificate earning a 4.25 annual percentage yield. Hurry, a rate this great won't last long. Visit our website, greenriverafcu.com, or stop by one of our area locations. Green River Area FCU is your local hometown credit union, and we work hard to help you earn more in your savings and make your financial life easier. Minimum deposit $2,000. Penalty for early withdrawal. Call for current rates and yields. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Are you ready to take your ride to the next level? Look no further than Lux Detailing and Window Tint. Our skilled technicians will have your car looking its best in no time with our top-of-the-line detailing and lifetime warranted window tinting services. But why stop there? Protect your investment with our System X ceramic coatings, the ultimate in paint protection and Carfax certification. Say goodbye to chips, scratches, and fading paint. System X ceramic coatings keeps your cars looking like new for years to come. At Lux Detailing and Window Tint, we're dedicated to bringing you the very best in car care services. Visit us today and discover the Lux difference, where luxury meets performance. Lux Detailing and Window Tint.
Hi, this is Travis Holtree of Foreman Watson Holtree. You know, our attorneys are dedicated to you and committed to justice, just like the crew from Live at 5, who are also dedicated to bringing you all local sports coverage and committed to doing it justice by spotlighting all of our local athletes and coaches. That's why FWH Legal is proud to bring you the Live at 5 show on Owensboro ESPN station. Join Steve Turner and Vic Evans for Live at 5 each weekday at 5 o'clock right here on 102.7 The Game. Brought to you as always by Foreman Watson Holtree. Dedicated to you, committed to justice. FWHlegal.com.
A healthy harvest starts with healthy fields. Correcting deficiencies in season with the NutriSolutions tissue analysis from Superior Ag can help you take control of your fields and protect your yield potential. The insights will assist you in making the best decisions for your acres. To identify hidden nutritional hunger in your fields, contact your local Superior Ag agronomist to schedule a tissue sample today. Superior Ag. Grow with us.
Local sports at its finest, live at 5 with Stephen A. Turner and Vic Evans on 102.7 The Game.
Live at 5, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. Stephen A. Turner in the Floor Concept Studios. Coach Vic Evans, Caleb Farkas now. It's a Perry Central Wednesday here. Just previewed the Commodores. Big thanks to our Green River Area Federal Credit Union guest of the game, Perry Central head coach Greg Gibson. If you missed that, YouTube page at Live at 5 1027. You can. All the shows will be going up there. Also, Owensboro Radio app podcast tab down there at the bottom. Now, let's jump into these NFL quarterbacks. I was going to talk baseball today, and I was like, it's football. So you know what I'm saying? Like, it's time to start talking football. I mean, and
you always talk baseball. The Yankees are terrible.
Anytime I push a topic I want to talk about, something major happens in the week, and then it just gets pushed forever. So,
I'm ready to talk quarterbacks.
NFL league execs and scouts were polled by ESPN, over 80 scouts and executives, and they come up with a consensus.
Okay. I think they're close. Ranking. I think there's a few I don't like, but I'm close.
Number one, Patrick Mahomes. And
I agree.
He peaked at 1, obviously, but the lowest anybody voted him was number 2.
Correct.
And so there's that.
Like the exec in Cincinnati.
That sounds like
something.
Caleb Farkas was putting the exec. Yeah,
Mahomes.
Caleb Farkas was putting the exec.
No, I got him at 1.
I would have Mahomes at 1.
There's no question about it with what he's done and coming off the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, and Burrow's at 2.
That's my 2,
and there's no problem there. But one league exec, he's highest is 1, lowest is 6.
That's also ridiculous.
That's got to be a Steeler.
Whoever the executive or
that's
scout.
That's a Steeler.
Whoever, maybe it is.
That's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Whoever the exec or scout that voted him 6 should be fired. They should not have a job in football.
Yes.
That's insane. Number 3 was Josh Allen.
I'll live with that. Yes.
When Josh Allen's at his peak, he's as good as anybody.
See,
the problem is Josh Allen has more head-scratching moments than Mahomes or Burrow. When he's on fire, he's maybe better than both of them.
I'm going to surprise you because my number 3 right now, Jalen Hurts.
Maybe.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I got no beef with it.
Yeah, I'd have him at 3.
He won a bunch of games. Like you said, he won a bunch of games. He didn't turn the ball over. Allen seems to turn the ball over a lot of crucial times and a lot of multi-game turnovers. What's the one way to really win football in the NFL right now? It's usually take care of the football. And what are the best quarterbacks doing at rates that we've never seen before? They're taking care of the football. There's no more Brett Favres anymore that throw 25 interceptions a year and 40 touchdown passes. There's the Aaron Rodgers that throw 40 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions.
Right.
Allen's got to stop turning the ball over. He's killing the Bills sometimes, and in a super competitive AFC, I agree. I mean, I'm putting him at 3 because of those peaks are so good, but I don't see any problem with saying Rodgers, Hurts,
I go Hurts,
Lamar,
3.
Herbert, any of those guys. I think you can make an argument.
Now, Allen would be my 4th.
Well, Allen, they voted in the highest at 2 and the lowest at 4. I can't imagine putting him above Burrow at this point, just based upon the peaks and valleys.
Burrow's beat him, too, in the biggest games, including last year in the playoffs in Buffalo.
Buffalo would say they beat him because he never got the ball back the year that he was on fire, right?
Yes.
And they changed that rule. Sure. But that's just devil's advocate. I agree with you 100%. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers, still checking in at number 4. They peaked him out at 2, and the lowest was 8. So this is kind of a big gap for Rodgers.
So Green Bay had him at 8, and New York had him at 2.
I agree with that. I think a locked-in Aaron Rodgers may be too low here. I think
he's my 5.
We're going to find out.
He's my 5. I would have Allen at 4, Rodgers at 5.
I agree with Rodgers at 4 with the ability to move up to 3 and replace Allen. If I'm with you, Stephen A. Not really a Rodgers fan at this point, but if I'm removing my bias, I think he seems dialed in. He's got weapons loaded in New York. I think he was disinterested in Green Bay, ticked off that he was there. It's scary days ahead. I think he's going to have a really good season.
When was the last time Aaron Rodgers went to like OTAs and worked?
And that's it, too. And he's working, and he looks good. And I know it's OTAs, but it looks good.
He looks 10 years younger.
It looks like he's ready for a Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah. And this is where the list just goes out the window. Number 5, Justin Herbert.
Way too high.
Yeah, I had Hurts at 5. I think Herbert hasn't accomplished anything yet, and I know you're the biggest
Someone voted
Herbert
him too.
hater. It's all based on like potential and everything, but I got to see it. I got to see wins. I got to see it on the field. I got to see it. He turns the ball over in crucial points a lot as well.
What has San Diego won?
That's what I mean.
Nothing. And that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Why is Justin Herbert always get the pass on quarterback wins? Now, I'm the first guy to tell you quarterbacks don't win and lose games all the time. I mean, when you have the lowest ranked defense and an offensive line with a top, bottom 3 protection rate, then quarterbacks can only do so much. I mean, but Herbert, I mean, he's had a pretty good defense around him.
No, he's had a good line. Now
he does have a coach that's got some bonehead decisions.
Yeah, his coach will cost him a lot of victory.
Be curious to see Kellen Moore with him this year.
I would much. I got Rodgers at 5. This is way too high. He would be more like 8 or 9 for me for Hurts. I'm not a Hurts guy.
Well, somebody voted him 2.
Or for Herbert.
Herbert guy. I'm sorry, Herbert guy.
Herbert's at 5. And we all agree that's too high?
Too high.
I have him at 7, yep.
And Jalen Hurts is 6. 3, it's as high as 3. Somebody voted him as low as 10.
Yeah, I don't get that.
He did have, they said on TV yesterday, the almost identical stats to Tyrod Taylor after his first 3 seasons, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, but he wasn't a full-time starter either.
Yeah, and I don't know if Tyrod was. I don't know how many games he's played.
If you throw in Josh Allen's career stats, he tanks. I mean, Kirk Cousins, you compare the side by side.
Exactly. So I don't love
better. I mean,
so I'm just playing devil's advocate there. I like Hurts. I think it's, again, what Vic's alluding to is winning games. I mean, they won, 15 regular season, 14 regular season games last year.
It's just his second full year as a starter.
In a Super Bowl. Yeah, exactly. And he runs the ball really well. He throws on the run well. I think he has a different dynamic that isn't always recorded in the stat book as well.
See, for me, I would have my 6 would be Lamar.
And I got Lamar at 6 as well. Hurts 5, Lamar 6.
Well, they got Lamar at 7. Mm-hmm. Somebody voted him as high as 4, and then out. When the Vikings were looking at Lamar, I dove into him. The rumors came out. They were looking into Lamar. What has Lamar done?
Well,
can somebody explain to me what
Lamar? It's the same argument with
What's
Herbert.
Lamar done?
Yep.
I mean, he puts up great numbers. He was MVP.
Mm-hmm.
But what did he do? How'd that season end up?
No,
Lamar's been injured a lot. I mean,
one thing
that's got to factor in. One thing I don't think this list factors in is availability. Coaches will tell you the best ability is availability. And some of these guys, I don't know that I can trust Lamar. I don't know that I would have paid Lamar.
I wouldn't have paid what they paid for him.
Only because the durability concerns. If Lamar isn't the guy like Mahomes that can run around and extend plays, I just don't know that I'm buying in. I mean, and maybe he'll prove me wrong, but if you ask me to bet on it, I would say he's already hit his peak.
Well, I will say this. Now, the offensive system they had, it was a run-heavy offense. I'm curious to see what Lamar does this year with the new offensive coordinator. He wants to throw the ball more. One thing the Ravens haven't done is got him a lot of weapons. I mean, when your best receiver is your tight end.
I don't like to dump on Lamar because I love Lamar, and I would have taken Lamar on the Vikings.
Lamar has not had the receivers that the San Diego and Herbert's had. So I'm curious to see what he does this year with the new offensive coordinator.
He's got Bateman and Beckham this year. That's who they picked up.
The excuses are gone.
So the excuses are gone.
Well, I'm not sold on Beckham.
With Andrews.
Come on. How long is this? Odell ain't played in like 3 years.
I agree, but he's a number 2 behind Bateman, and then they got Mark Andrews, who's a top 5 tight end.
Yes.
They have all sorts of a plethora of running backs.
Top 5. He's probably a
top
2 tight end.
Yeah, exactly.
No worse than 3.
Sure, yeah, yep. Kelsey and then Andrews.
All right, let's keep it moving here. And they got Lawrence at 8. Trevor Lawrence, highest 4, voted as low as 8. No one voted him lower than 8. And you know what? I don't have a beef with that.
I would have Lawrence at 7 for me in front of Herbert.
See, I have him down at 9 just because he won a playoff game last year, but it was after it was against Herbert, who couldn't protect a 27-point lead, and he threw 4 Lawrence turned the ball over 4 times in that game.
He did. Started rough.
It's been really up and down. I like what Peterson's doing there. I think I like a full year under him in a really weak division. I think he's going to look
been up and down. He had got to fill the first year out when he had Urban Meyer. I mean,
sure,
come on. That was an absolute Titanic.
I think Lawrence's trajectory, this is where I would have him.
Yes.
I would have him at 8. I have no beef. Honestly, they probably have the right 8. I just don't think they have the right order. I mean, that's for me. I don't think I would have anybody lower that I've talked about already.
Herbert, I would.
I would have Herbert at 7, Lamar. I don't know, man. I guess Lamar over Herbert.
Herbert for me is number 9.
The thing about it is, after you get outside the top 4, 5 maybe, it's just there's kind of it's open.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
with
literally.
Lamar, Herbert, Lawrence, Dak, you can argue a lot of ways with those guys, and they all kind of have the same issue where they haven't won a lot and won a lot of big games.
I got
Dak's been here longer.
Dak's trash, dude.
I got Dak at 8.
Whatever.
I got Dak at 8.
Dak is holding the Cowboys back. The Cowboys are absolutely loaded in talent. Number 1, here's another thing to take into consideration for Dak. He's coming off a miserable year.
He had a bad year last year.
He cost the Cowboys a run.
He had a bad year last year.
Single-handedly. Let me add you, because that defense, if Cousins had that defense, we're going deep into the playoffs.
Who's the best quarterback in Dallas?
It ain't Dak.
Is it Cooper Rush? Is it Cooper Rush?
No, I can't get on that train.
Skip went on that hot take. Cooper Rush is
what I'm trying to say is Dak lost his offensive coordinator. So you're going to tell me you buy Dak more with Mike McCarthy running the offense than you did with Kellen Moore? Well, no, he takes a step back,
we'll
even
see.
bigger step
I would have, for me, I would have Dak 8.
There's no way
I'd have Herbert. I'd take Dak over Herbert. Me personally, I'm not a Herbert fan at all. And we're going to find out how much Kellen Moore, what McCarthy can do. I mean, McCarthy's track record with quarterbacks.
He had Aaron Rodgers.
I understand that.
Come on.
I understand that, but we're going to find out what Dak can do.
Put me out there with Aaron Rodgers in his prime. We're winning 10 games.
Well, we'll see.
I mean,
I will still buy Dak at 8.
We're going to find out.
Herbert at 9.
I mean, the good thing is that all this washes out. It's just fun to discuss.
Sure.
As I was watching the quarterback, I was hearing the sports talk that happened in between. I told Amber, I was like, you hear how ridiculous this sounds? This is what we do. This is ridiculous.
But you're just a Dak hater, Steve. I mean, they're just
listen, I see it. The only reason why is because people have these football takes, and because they read Twitter or they see some highlights on SportsCenter. They don't sit and watch the games, especially when you talk about Kirk. They don't watch the games. And Dak, I watch a lot of Cowboys because Amber's a Cowboys fan, Chris is a Cowboys fan, my uncle was a big Cowboys fan, so I watch a lot of Cowboys. So I'm pretty familiar. And I watched Dak cost that team wins over and over.
He did last year. Too many interceptions last year.
He had one good year, then he got injured, and it all went away. If you could get that peak Dak where he's extending the pocket, and he's like Mahomes, that's what makes him special. That's what makes these quarterbacks special is when they can do the off-script things and hit the big plays down the field. You can't defend that. Dak did that first half of the year. Then he hurt his ankle, and it never has been the same since. And I don't know. I think we've, just like I said with Lamar, I think we've seen peak Dak. I think it's downhill from here.
We're going to find out. I think this is a big year for Dak. I mean, it really is.
Year, yep.
Stafford's at 10. I mean, this is insane. Stafford can't, dude. Can he even play anymore?
I don't know if he can play anymore. For me, like I said, I would have Herbert at 9. My 10 would be, depending on what day of the week it was, it would either be Goff or Cousins. Those would be 10 and 11. And
well, then it gets even more ridiculous.
Yeah, I think he's dropped off. Stafford's taken a huge drop. The injuries have caught up with him. The Rams are going to be probably pretty abysmal this year, but the injuries have just caught up with him. He's too old and beat up at this point. He doesn't have the same arm that he had even when they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I think the trade worked out. They won a Super Bowl. That's what they wanted to do.
Out. I mean,
they're going to be really bad for some years now.
Jaqueski Tart, I'm looking at you. If you just make the easy catch on the ball he threw right to you, I'm looking like the smart guy here, and instead these guys across from me got the win.
No longer in the top 10. I have Cousins. I have Goff, Cousins, Carr as my 10, 11, 12, and I think those three are really. You could toss them up in a blender and debate all those. All day,
and you put that on Twitter about Goff being better than Cousins, and I was like, that is the most ridiculous thing because you know what though, I don't watch Lions games,
and I
just know Goff was I'm influenced about Goff by watching what he did in L.A. and how he continued to fall short. The Goff in Detroit
has been good.
Yeah,
I mean, he's right there in the top 10.
And so now I'm less willing to fight you on the Cousins Goff. I think they're pretty close to each other. But they had Deshaun Watson right outside the top 10. Deshaun Watson at his peak didn't even win a playoff game.
Right.
Deshaun Watson at his peak was mediocre.
He's a little bit better than mediocre, but the Deshaun Watson you're seeing now.
Deshaun Watson at his peak was maybe the 7th to 9th best quarterback in the league.
True.
Everything was it was a Herbert situation.
Yeah,
everything's based on I see
five,
you and his potential.
Mm-hmm.
And then guess what happened? Whenever he started to rise to stardom, he went away for 2 years. He comes back and has a bad year.
Hold on, it wasn't bad last year. He was awful.
Miserable.
It was awful.
And now we got him at 11.
You can't just take 2 years off of football and come back and be good, let alone at the quarterback position, let alone have this mental cloud hanging over you at a position where the mental aspect is the most important part of the position. I think he's done for his career, and I hope he is, too, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they had Kirk at 12, Goff at 13, Carr at 14, Tua at 15. I think they had to have factored in some injuries with Tua because he's much better than 15 if he's healthy Tua.
But you talk about availability. I don't know if Tua is ever going to be able to stay healthy.
Right, availability has to factor in, and I think that's right if they factor that in, but some of these guys, obviously, they didn't. Receiving votes were Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields received a top 10 vote, which I'm still... Oh, man, I'm wild. That's wild.
I'll tell you what, if he has a big year this year, you're going to eat a little crow.
We'll eat crow. I'll eat crow.
He is a guy.
I'll eat crow.
Him and Herbert are the two guys, to me, that seem to get a pass on everything.
The thing about Fields is, though, he can do things that nobody else can do with his legs.
But I still don't know if he can be a consistent, accurate passer.
But I think NFL teams can game plan for those.
They'll figure it out. He'll look sweet for games here and there, like Vince Young did.
He still
like
scares you, though.
Robert Griffin did, and he'll run for 180 yards and
He'll
throw
do it
for
against
200.
the Vikings. He'll be here twice,
but
and break Michael Vick's record that he set against us, and then that'll be
there's
that.
two issues. What Vic said, the accuracy and being consistent, and then holding up against injuries. I haven't seen it at all with Fields yet, other than just being wildly athletic. I certainly don't think he's a top 10 quarterback.
Well, I'm going to make you hold that Kirk Cousins hot take through the break, and then we'll come back and finish up with that and get you set for tomorrow's Live at 5, 102.7 The Game.
This is Coach Evans with Live at 5. And when life happens and you have roof or siding damage, give our friends a call at Above All Roofing and let Chris Estes get your problem solved. They also do windows and seamless gutters. Mention you heard it on Live at 5 and get $1,000 off roof replacements.
When you're out kicking it with your friends and talking shoes like Jordans, Nikes, Yeezys, and more, you know these shoes are hard to come by. Well, not anymore. Kicking it, that's what I said, kicking it. Now bringing you all these names, brands, and more. Open Tuesday through Sunday, Kicking It not only sells shoes, they buy and trade them as well. Be sure to check out their collection of vintage, single-stitch, and designer clothing. Kicking It, located in Owensboro at 201 Salem Drive. Be sure to check them out on Facebook, Instagram, at Kicking It 270, your new place for the coolest shoes.
EI Sports and Apparel is focused on bringing you quality team uniforms and equipment. They are a full youth sports dealer with all the work done in-house, so all deadlines are met with top-notch quality. They have all the equipment you need for whatever sport you need it. They're an official Adidas dealer, so football, baseball, and soccer cleats, they have the pair that you're looking for. Find them just across the river on Plaza East Boulevard in Evansville or online at eisportsandapparel.com.
Hey, this is Johnny Calhoun at Goodman's Barbershop, 452 East 18th Street. Early birds, come see me as early as 6:30 in the morning. I don't want to be everybody's barber. I just want to be your barber. That's Johnny Calhoun at Goodman's Barbershop.
And now, Western Kentucky weather on 102.7 The Game.
Tonight, mostly cloudy, a 50% chance of rain and thunderstorms, a low 74. Partly sunny on Thursday, showers likely and possibly a thunderstorm, high of 88. Partly cloudy on Thursday night, 20% chance of rain and thunderstorms early, a low 70. Partly sunny on Friday, a high of 83. Partly cloudy on Friday night, low 63. Sunny on Saturday, a high of 83. Saturday night, mostly clear, a low 63.
And now, more Live at 5 with Stephen A. Turner and Vic Evans on 102.7 The Game.
Live at 5 brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. We're back here in the Floor Concept Studios to take you home on a Wednesday. We got a few minutes left. You've been talking about this Kirk Cousins quarterback take.
I couldn't hold back during break, so I had to start giving it during break already.
And it's literally been my biggest pet peeve on Twitter for the
I'm surprised that I haven't seen the take, so that's why. If you didn't watch the quarterback show, the brief summary is everyone loved Cousins more than they already did after watching it because he's the dad next door and wears all the Kohl's shirts and and works so hard and goes through all these pain and injuries and is so tough. The one thing that stuck out to me was that he took every Tuesday off during the regular season, and I don't know if any other I don't know that Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or any of these other guys takes a Tuesday off. The guy's won one playoff game his whole career, and he takes the first work day of the week off every week during the whole season while he's trying to learn a new system and while he's the leader of the team and should be setting the example. And you mentioned, he can't grip a football on Monday. Okay, poor baby. Then if he can't grip it on Tuesday, that's fine too. Still show up and be in the building and be there for walkthroughs and be there just as a general leader of the team. If the rest of the team is in the building every Tuesday or the majority of the Tuesdays and your leader, your quarterback, your number one guy isn't there, I have a huge problem with that, especially someone who hasn't won a dang thing in his entire career.
I will say this. Without knowing more context, is he there on Sundays or is he there on Saturdays?
He's only there on Sundays if it's at 1 p.m. or earlier.
Well, but I'm just saying, or what are other guys doing, like you were talking about, Steve. You don't know if Justin Jefferson's there on Tuesdays. Well, it didn't show you that.
On winning weeks, you get Monday and Tuesday
usually
off.
Yes.
Yeah. So not only that, but the guys on you said he's nursing his injuries. The dude got hit more times than any quarterback in the NFL. He's never missed a game. He played with cracked ribs in Buffalo and threw a dime and got smashed and got up and went and won the football game. At the end of the day,
it's one of those where
do you know Joe Burrow's there on Tuesdays?
That's what I'm saying.
Sure he's there.
You don't know
Hold
that.
on. It's one of those without
that.
more context. It can be misleading. Now, I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but you just don't know the whole context.
Do you really believe that him working on a Tuesday is the difference between winning and losing?
No, what I don't like about it is the precedent that it sets. That he automatically gets, and maybe other guys are taking some Tuesdays off.
Is anybody else taking 83 hits in a game on the team? Anybody?
Dalvin Cook.
No
maybe
way. Not even close.
But that's
the Vikings play and watch Kirk Cousins scrape himself up off the concrete with a
that's
spatula.
not why he's taking it off, because Joe Burrow got hit more than any quarterback in football the year they went to the Super Bowl, then got his appendix out. He doesn't take a standard day off every day of the week during the bulk of the season. That's what I just don't like the precedence that it sends. I don't know, and they made mention of it, and he even talked about how it was kind of awkward. The coaches looked at him first like he was out of his mind. So it sounds like it's something that's rare, that's not the usual. Why does Kirk Cousins, who's won one playoff game in his career, get one day off every single day of the week during
got
the
it in
season?
his contract, baby.
That's right, because he's the best contract
You
negotiator
don't agree
on
that
the
it
planet.
sets maybe a bad precedent as a leader?
I mean, I can understand that take. I can understand that take, but I think that the toughness and the way he rallies himself to get ready for the games, some of the games he has no business playing in, and still gets out there and picks himself up and leads the team, I think it overshadows that. That's what I took from it. We're out of time.
Don't forget, Matt Jones tomorrow.
Matt Jones kicking off Live at 5. Thanks for Caleb for staying, by the way.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was fun. We'll see you tomorrow Live at 5.
You've been listening to Live at 5 on 102.7 The Game. Special thanks to Foreman Watson Hultree for sponsoring the preceding broadcast. FWHlegal.com. Tune in next time for Live at 5 on 102.7 The Game. News now on 102.7 The Game.
Thousands of Indiana residents will see their student loan balances discharged due to a federal plan. The Biden administration announced